The courtroom smelled of stale coffee and something metallic, like the cold bite of old air conditioning against polished benches. Chatter of reporters outside the
When that smacked Foolio that night when he got dropped at his birthday celebration, bro. Ace had that money on his head, you know, Ace had him put that 10K up. Told me
heavy oak doors had died to a dull murmur when the bailiff called everyone to order. Yungeen Ace sat at the defense table, his face hidden behind his hands. Elbows planted so hard on the table that it looked like he was trying to disappear inside his own skin. He hadn't said much all morning. People said he'd barely slept, that he'd been pacing in a holding cell, whispering Foolio's name like a curse or a prayer.
On 23, 2024, Foolio, real name Charles Jones, was supposed to be celebrating his 26th birthday. He had chosen to party in Tampa, Florida.
When the prosecutor rose to introduce the evidence, every head turned. No one had expected video. No one. The defense attorneys exchanged looks, one of them mouthing something that looked suspiciously like "this is a setup." The prosecutor pressed a button on a small remote, and the screen at the front of the room flickered to life.
Everything changed. Foolio had been posting on social media all night, sharing birthday moments with his fans, but those posts revealed his exact location. What seemed like an innocent way to celebrate turned into a fatal mistake. His enemies used those posts as real-time intel, and they made their move.
Jones was in town celebrating his birthday and posted on his social media his locations several times throughout that night. Surveillance video was critical in this investigation, as suspects were seen on video following Jones from location to location.
The footage was grainy, night vision green and black. At first it was hard to tell what was happening, just shapes moving in an alleyway. A camera tilted sideways like whoever was holding it was running. Then a voice, Foolio's voice, raw and strangled, crying out over the wind. It sounded like he was trying to say someone's name. People leaned forward in their seats. The court clerk glanced nervously at the judge. A few jurors put hands to their mouths. Yungeen Ace didn't look up until the shape on the screen collapsed. The audio cracked and popped, and in that sudden hush, a single sentence cut through the static.
Shooters exited a vehicle and walked in the direction of the hotel. They murdered Jones with a handgun and 2 rifles. This barrage of gunfire also struck 3 additional victims who miraculously survived this incident.
Inside, a bailiff had stepped between Ace and the monitor, trying to block the view. Another lawyer was practically pleading with the judge to end the playback. But the prosecution insisted the footage was critical to proving motive, that the jury needed to see the entire sequence, no matter how painful. Yungeen Ace finally slumped forward, hands over his face again. His shoulders were shaking, kept muttering, "I didn't do that. I swear on everything I love, I didn't do that." The court reporter's fingers flew across the keys, documenting every word, every gasp. Woman in the gallery was crying, so loudly that the judge ordered her removed. Meanwhile, Foolio's mother sat stone-faced in the front row. She didn't look away once. Her hand clutched a small gold cross, knuckles white with the force of her grip. Some people said later that her eyes never left the screen, that she watched her son die again and again with the same unblinking stare.
Front passenger in that vehicle. It's clear from that video what they were set out to do and what they had planned to do. The investigation would later reveal that the 3 armed shooters were Sean Gaithright, Rashard Murphy, and Davion Murphy.
When the video finally stopped, it was like the air had been sucked out of the room. No one moved, no one spoke. A single cough cracked the silence. Then the prosecutor cleared his throat and announced there was more. A second clip began, this one clearer. It showed a car idling near the alley, headlights off. 2 figures stepped out, one tall and wearing a hoodie, the other smaller, holding something that glinted under a street lamp. Someone in the gallery gasped. Yungeen Ace lifted his head, eyes red and hollow. He looked at the screen as if he was trying to memorize every frame, as if searching for proof that it wasn't what it looked like. The smaller figure raised an arm. A muffled pop. Foolio fell back, arms flailing in slow motion. The defense team scrambled to object, voices overlapping in a chorus of desperation. But the judge overruled them, his face set in a mask of grim resolve. In that moment, it didn't matter who was guilty or innocent. All that mattered was the image of a young man dying in an alley, his last breath caught forever on video.
Clear message to anyone that the city of Tampa is not where you want to come to settle a dispute. You will be charged, you will be arrested, and you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent possible.
Yungeen Ace pressed a fist against his mouth as if he could hold the sound in, but it was too late. He was crying openly now, gasping for air between strangled sobs. Reporters outside were already broadcasting live, their voices urgent and breathless. They speculated on how the footage had been leaked, who had filmed it, why it had surfaced now. In the middle of a trial that was already tearing the city apart, some said the video was proof that Yungeen Ace was lying. He'd always known how Foolio died. Others insisted it was a setup, that someone wanted to destroy him before he ever had the chance to testify. Inside the courtroom, the judge finally ordered a recess. Bailiffs escorted the jury out, but no one could erase what they'd seen. Yungeen Ace remained seated, his head in his hands, tears streaming down his cheeks onto the polished table. The prosecutor watched him with a look that was almost pity, almost satisfaction. Foolio's mother closed her eyes and whispered something no one could hear. Outside, the sky was turning a dull gray, the first drops of rain tapping against the courthouse steps. Yungeen Ace didn't move. He sat there long after everyone else had gone, the ghost of that footage playing behind his eyelids on an endless loop. And somewhere out there, whoever had held that camera, whoever had decided to share those final moments with the world, was probably watching the chaos unfold with a cold, detached satisfaction, because in that one leaked video, they had done what no amount of testimony could. They had broken a man in front of the entire world.
Love, bro. On the dead homies, bro. I put it on everything, on my soul, on my kids. I'm the one that smacked Foolio that night when he got dropped at his birthday celebration, bro.
Whether the confession was real or just made for attention, it sparked even more suspicion around Yungeen Ace. The masked man in the video didn't sound sorry at all. Instead, he treated the killing like a business deal, saying, "It is what it is, bro. They don't care about that money. Anybody can get it." Theo had it coming. His words and his clear loyalty to ATK Ace's crew made it sound like.
Long after the echo of footsteps faded and the cameras stopped flashing outside, Yungeen Ace sat in the same spot, as if moving might shatter whatever pieces he still had left. The bailiff hovered near the door, glancing at him every few seconds, unsure whether to speak or just leave him to drown in the silence. When Ace finally lifted his head, his eyes were swollen and glassy. His lawyer reappeared, carrying a stack of papers he didn't even bother to set down before crouching next. To him, "You have to get it together, man," he whispered, voice low but urgent. "They're going to say you broke because you're guilty."
Foolio dying, cuz. That's sad. Twin, I ain't gonna lie, bro. Y'all boys in the street, y'all didn't leave the streets alone, twin. All condone is.
Yungeen Ace has long been known in Jacksonville. We are consistently monitoring those groups. We have people that are always watching them.
This every way they can. Ace didn't answer. His breathing was ragged, his chest heaving like he'd run miles. He pressed the heels of his palms against his forehead so hard, the skin turned red. "I swear to God," he said, his voice barely there. "I didn't know. I didn't know they had that video. I didn't know he was gonna..." His sentence trailed off. Tremor rolled through him. The lawyer's phone buzzed, a notification lighting up the screen. Another leak, another clip. This time, someone had sent it straight to every major news outlet, along with a cryptic message. "This is just the beginning." Outside, rain lashed the courthouse steps, plastering protest signs to the concrete. People were shouting, their voices rising over the thunder, arguments about whether Ace was a victim or a monster. Some were crying. Some were waving their phones in the air to show the footage to anyone who hadn't seen it yet. Inside, a clerk wheeled in a small TV on a rolling cart. The judge hadn't returned, but the prosecutors were gathering again, their faces tense and serious. One of them looked over at Ace like she was almost sorry, but not enough to stop. Ace finally pushed himself to his feet, swaying for a moment as if the weight of everything was pulling him back down. He looked at the screen as if he already knew. He couldn't take any more, but he couldn't look away either. The TV flickered on. Second clip started to play. This time, the footage was from higher up, as if it had been filmed from a rooftop or a fire escape. The camera panned slowly, capturing the parked car, the two figures emerging. You could hear muffled voices under the wind, arguing. One voice was unmistakable, raw and hoarse and shaking with adrenaline. It sounded like Ace's,